This is the plaintiff, Kenneth Cruciani. He says the defendants are his daughter's former in-laws, and he painted a room for them. Meanwhile, his daughter and the defendant's brother were getting a divorce, and somehow the defendants think that's an excuse not to pay him for his work. They've ignored all his requests for payments. He's going to lose his temper over it, so it's best he just sues them here and now for the $300 he's owed. These are the defendants, Shane and Melissa Prince. Shane says he and the plaintiff were family, and the guy painted the room and told him not to worry about it. 3 years and a divorce in the family later, he now wants to be paid for painting the room, and is just coming up with an amount out of thin air. This whole thing's absurd, and he doesn't owe the plaintiff a thing, that's for darn sure. They're accused of getting painted into a corner.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff painted part of the defendant's home. They're his daughter's in-laws, and he says that he got stiffed. But the defendants say it was never meant to be anything but a gift, and this is just out of anger. It's the case of Hugh Stink.
Thank you, Douglas. Kenneth Cruciani?
Yes.
Okay, you are suing Shane and Melissa Prince for $300, the amount you say they owe you to paint a room that you painted years and years ago, correct?
Correct.
Tell me what happened.
Well, they had called me to paint the room. They were having a second child, and they wanted me to paint the room for him. So I went over there, and I gave him a price for the room.
What's the price you gave him?
$300.
Okay.
And I was just moving myself, in the process of moving to a house. It was going to need some work, so knowing that Shane does electrical work, I told him, don't worry about paying me when I need some work done in my house.
Did you say that right away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what? And he says yes.
He said, fine. Yeah, that was good with him.
Okay. And then what happened?
Well, I moved to my new house. Time went by. I didn't really have any urgent need for any electrical work, so I didn't call him. And then my daughter and his brother-in-law got a divorce.
Oh.
So it was still a little more time went by, and I did have a need for some help. So I called him, and I didn't get an answer.
Oh. Better to have gotten the $300, huh? Okay, so go on.
So then I went to his house one morning, knocked on his door, asked him why he didn't return my calls, and he informed me that, well, we really no longer have anything to do with each other since Mike and Christy divorced. And
how long had you not talked to him? Years?
Maybe a year or so.
Okay.
And I said, what happened between them has nothing to do with the agreement we made. I was doing something for you. You were supposed to do something for me. I need help.
Right.
And he said, well.
What was the help you needed?
I had some electrical problem in one of my rooms. The circuit's not working properly.
Okay, and that was going to be worth $300? Like, this is kind of like a bad idea just because you don't know how.
It's worth it to me.
Okay, worth it to you. So then what does he say? He says, we don't have anything to do with each other anymore because? Because
our families have nothing to do with each other.
Okay, so let me hear, he knocks on your door a couple years later and says, right. Hey, why aren't you answering my calls? And why weren't you?
I didn't owe him anything. There was no reason to answer anything because no money.
Why wouldn't you just answer his calls as a courtesy?
Because the difference in the families, I didn't want, out of respect to my brother-in-law.
Why? What happened? Was it a nasty divorce?
Because it's going through a very, very nasty divorce. I didn't want anything to do with that anymore. And since it was so long since all that stuff's been happening, I didn't want anything to do with that at all. So I just didn't answer. Okay.
Had you asked him to paint the room?
Yes.
And had he quoted you a $300 price?
No money was ever discussed. Because
no amount was ever discussed?
Never. Because I've known him for 7 or 8 years now. And when we first met, not even first met, a few years ago, he asked me to help him with a computer problem. So I went there, helped him out. And then about 2.5 years ago.
Did you charge him for that?
No, because we're family.
Then 2.5 years later, you needed the room painted.
And 2.5 years ago, we're having our second child. So I asked him to paint our room. He came and did it as a favor.
Nobody ever discussed money?
No money.
Did he ever discuss that you would do some electrical work for him?
Well, we already were kind of becoming
Yeah,
equal.
but that's not the same
Yeah.
as actually discussing that, when I need you, you'll be there in return for me painting the room. I mean, that's an actual kind of bargain. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Sometimes family just does
Right.
something for family,
Right.
but it doesn't sound like that necessarily was this. It sounds like, because your family, he figured, the day will come when I'm going to need you to do electrical work. And you say, okay, so we'll barter.
Well, what was discussed was he.
I don't blame you for not going in there because you got to answer to her.
Right.
I get it. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I just want to know what your agreement was with him. Just tell me the truth.
What
your-
was discussed was he was going to be moving, and I would help him move. No electrical work was ever discussed.
Does that sound right?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Are you an electrician?
No.
So do in-laws typically hold grudges after a nasty divorce? You guys, anybody divorced here? Okay.
Yes, I've seen it happen a lot.
Why? And they're in-laws. They don't have a dog in the fight, really.
Because they felt, their kid, their family was hurt.
What do you think?
I agree with her. I had the same situation in my divorce.
And there was there were grudges between the two?
Very much so, yes.
Interesting. And sad, going inside the courtroom.
Why does he think you can do electrical work?
Because I've done it in the past.
Okay. All right. So did he ever ask you to move? To help him?
No. Well, I was expecting a phone call. I never heard anything.
Was the amount 300 ever discussed?
No money was ever discussed.
Is the amount
It never
300
even crossed
fair
the
or
lips.
not really?
A 10 by 10 room. I don't.
Kind of high?
I don't know.
Okay. Did the amount was the amount 300 ever discussed?
No, it was a favor. He had done favors at his home. He came to our home and did a favor, and everything was fine. For another year after he painted this room, we were still family. We went to each other's family events. They gave
What do
me
you
a
think
baby
precipitated
gift.
the lawsuit? He really did want you to do whatever it is he was asking. He wanted you to go do the electrical work, right? And then you told him, I'm not setting foot in there because this divorce is very nasty and my brother-in-law is never going to forgive me, and more importantly, my wife won't.
Right.
That's true.
There's no way I was doing that. Yeah.
But what does he have to do with, is he a jerk? Like, in
We
other
never
words-
had any
We
problems
never had
with
any
each
problems,
other.
no.
Okay.
No.
So why wouldn't you just go over there and it's not her, right? It's your brother married to his
My
daughter.
brother married his daughter.
Right.
Correct.
But was he behind, was he in court with her?
I don't know.
To me, I've helped him out in the past. There was no reason for me to have to now.
Enough is
now
enough.
owe him.
Enough
It's
is
enough.
enough.
Continue to have the time.
I had already
Right.
done things for each other,
Yeah.
and once the family unit was split, that was it.
Seemed like everything was
over.
resolved.
I would like to say that I painted at his father's house. I painted his upstairs, his whole entire house. Upstairs, basement. I painted his sister's house. I painted his brother-in-law's mother's house and got paid each and every time.
But you didn't charge this time.
I did charge. Well, I'm saying I gave
I know
him a
what you mean.
price.
Boys room.
So you
Painted
admit
blue.
that there was a barter, but not of electrical work. You say it was for you to help him move, and that didn't happen, and that instead he asked you to do something else that you're good at, and it was just too late. Okay. What time is it, Douglas?
It's time for you to rule.
Right, and do a little what?
Rough justice.
That's right, because this is not a science, it's an art. I find in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $150. That's my judgment. Good luck, folks.
All right, let's get some comment from the defendant coming out here. He got half of what he sued for. What do you think?
I don't think I owed him anything. So I mean, it was no contract ever. So I don't see a reason why. It was just a verbal favor. That's it.
If you did work, would you want to get paid for it?
Not if it was family. Absolutely not.
You would agree to do work for a favor and then not expect anything.
For family, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Right down this way. Okay. All right. So step on in here. He thought you should have worked for nothing. Step on in here. And the judge said you're entitled to half of what you sued for. What do you think?
Well, I think I should have been entitled to all of it, but I'm more interested in winning the case, proving that I was
What about
correct.
family? Don't you think you should
Well,
do a
It
favor?
works a number of different ways. People hire family to help them out financially.
Well, what would you charge us to paint this hallway?
You got money?
You got money?
you got
Harvey?
So here's something that you should always remember. If somebody owes you money, the longer you wait to ask for it, the longer you wait to make a demand, the longer you wait to document it, the harder it's going to be to make it look like it really was a loan as opposed to a gift. Document it quick.